So, I was looking through Amazon Prime the other night for a movie to watch, and I'd already dismissed about 50 films, and then I came across this one called See No Evil 2, and I might have skipped past that one as well, but for the fact I spotted the names Danielle Harris and Catherine Isabel above the title, and I thought, ooh, two actresses I really like, and it's a slasher film. That's my movie for tonight. Except there was a 2 next to it, so I scrolled back up to where I was sure I'd seen See No Evil 1, and I found it, but I realised then that those actresses were not in the first film. So I thought to myself, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to have to watch the first film tonight and accept that I'm not going to get my little slice of Danielle and Catherine until tomorrow night. Okay, fine, whatever. So the plot of See No Evil 1 is that a bunch of male and female delinquents are being transferred from their detention facility to this giant hotel across town. And the deal is they have to clean this place up in 3 days, and if they do, they'll get a month off their sentences. The trouble is, no sooner do they get there, the doors get locked behind them, and it turns out there's a serial killer on the 9th floor, and off we go. And let me say at this point that this, sadly, is one of the worst films, if not the worst film I've seen in 2020. It's absolutely appalling. And from the minute we meet the main characters on the bus, I sort of had a sinking feeling at that point. I mean, the film introduces each one with this really dodgy freeze frame. So they're talking, and then underneath some text like Jesse in for 6 months. We get to meet each character like that. The film, as if the film thinks that it's Lock, Stock or something, or Con Air. But there's no Billy Bedlams or Cyrus the Viruses on this bus. It's just the most irritating bunch of 17-year-old imbeciles you've ever seen in your life. It's sort of implied a couple of them might have some good deep down, but by the time they all get to the hotel, I felt like a nobody to root for at all. The killer in the film is played by this WWE star called Kane. Now, this means nothing to me because I don't watch WWE, but I think the idea is that he's extra scary because he's built like a brick shithouse. I mean, this guy is big. He's like Arnie from his Pumping Iron days, and I think the director probably thinks that makes him scarier, but it doesn't. You know, it's not how big your killer is, it's what you do with him. You know, the old, what you don't see is scarier, but the makers of this film didn't get the memo because this guy is literally plastered all over this film so much. There's no subtlety whatsoever. I think we see more of Kane stalking the corridors than we do the protagonist. It's just way too much. I mean, I just want to scream. Can you just put this guy somewhere else for like 20 minutes so we can have some character development? He's just barging around the floors like an ogre. It's just horrible to watch. His MO is that he likes to scratch people's eyes out, whether alive or dead, but he's got these horribly long, dirty fingernails. So watching this in action, it's just icky. It's not good to watch at all. He does this thing as well where when he's fighting, where he growls, he's like, "Arr!" His backstory is that when he was a kid, supposedly his mum locked him in a cage in the garden and fired all this religious stuff at him, like, girls are evil, don't look at them. And to demonstrate a point, she scratches this teenage girl's eyes out right in front of him. So that's part of why he's all messed up. Now, if this film was subtle, we might only see a few seconds of these flashbacks, and that was it. We'd be able to piece the rest together ourselves. But this film doesn't do subtle, so we get flashback after flashback after flashback after flashback, and they all say that exactly the same thing. I'm like, just stop with the flashbacks. Seriously, 5 seconds of flashback would have done in this movie, and I would have got it. But what we get is probably more like 5 minutes once you add all the little snippets together. It's a lot, and it just gets on my nerves. The mother, by the way, it turns out she's in the hotel in the present day masquerading as the woman who organised all these refurbishments. So near the end, once she reveals herself, there's a scene where she's literally stood in front of the killer during the final confrontation going, "Go on then, killer, kill for mummy." It's just like that. Now, thankfully, Kane, or whatever his name is in the film, kills the mother because she is really annoying. But it doesn't make him change his ways, so he's still trying to kill the remaining protagonist. So then there's this big battle where he's fighting 3 of them and he's going, "Arr!" And then to kill it, well, I'll tell you what, I won't, just before I tell you how they kill him, I'll just give you a quick warning that there's about to be a spoiler for that. Not that it's going to affect your life whatsoever, knowing how this film ends. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so they push him out of this window. But instead of him just falling down and dying like a normal person, the director thinks, oh, you know how this shot might look better? Let's have him bang his head against this pipe and split a bit of his head open, and then he'll fall a little bit that way and hit his head on another bit of pipe and bang another bit of his head open, and then he'll fall through this greenhouse thing and hit another pipe. So it's basically, he's falling down like a pinball basically and getting all these extra damage as he goes down. And I think the idea is they'll put loads of CGI on and it'll look amazing, but no, it doesn't. It looks shit. Honestly, the coyote falling off a cliff looked more realistic than Kane's swan dive out of this window. It's bloody awful. Do I have any positives? No, none. So I guess we're just going to have to carry on with the negatives. Sound design, nothing, non-existent. Production design, I think there's meant to be 9 or 10 floors in this hotel, but I'm sure that they're just filming on one and kind of flicking the camera angles around. There's nothing visually to look at in the movie at all. There's a sex scene at one point, but it's the most unsexy sex scene you've ever seen. The whole room is just grimy and filled with cobwebs. Then Kane ruins the whole thing anyway by storming in before they've even got the clothes off. I mean, he's like a nemesis from Resident Evil. He just won't give it up, and not in a good way. There's this warden character who has history with Kane. So in the prologue that we see, Kane chopped his arm off with an axe, and now he's got a robotic arm. But the warden guy got one back on Kane at the same time by shooting him in the back of the head. Didn't kill him, but there's a bullet hole there now. So you think, okay, in the hotel, present day, they're going to recognise each other. There'll be some sort of interesting confrontation, but no. Not even halfway through the film, the warden guy's walking down this corridor and Kane magically drops this hook through the ceiling, perfectly to just hook the warden through the chin, kill him. And I don't think Kane even recognises this guy when he's doing this. So what was the point in setting all this up from the prologue and bringing this same character forward? It's just pointless. There's this other guy, Michael. He's one of the delinquents, and he's just the biggest shit throughout this movie. I mean, he's a total dick. He even throws a beer can at a dog at one point just to be mean. But for some reason, when it gets to the final 5 minutes, he just happens to be one of the last 3 people standing. So it's as the film panics at this point and thinks, oh, we better make this guy a hero, even though he's been a dick for the last hour and a quarter. So he does become a hero for the last 5 minutes. He helps take out Kane. And then just as him and the other 2 girls are walking out of the hotel, he's walking just in front of them. And one of these girls says something like, hey, why did you come back for us? And the film gives him this almost Clint Eastwood type line. He just turns around and goes, well, I guess I just didn't want to walk out of here alone. You know what? Let's get to the bag of terror. Okay. Half a bloody axe for See No Evil. That's the lowest score in the history of my review series. The previous record holder, I think, was Blair Witch 2 Book of Shadows, which scored 1 full bloody axe. But yeah, See No Evil is by far the worst film I've reviewed on this channel. And the only reason it gets that is because I could possibly imagine having a laugh with some mates, watching this with a few beers, just taking the piss out of it. That's the only value this film has. And you know what? I've got a real dilemma now, because what do I do about this sequel with Danielle Harris and Catherine Isabel? I could just quit right now and not look back, but then I'm going to miss out on a Danielle Harris and Catherine Isabel flick, which I wouldn't be too happy about. So I don't know. I just don't know if I can take 90 more minutes of... Although there's part of me that thinks I would like to see Danielle Harris just sort this guy out, you know, once and for all. So I don't know. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to stew on it. I'm not going to make any rash decisions tonight. We'll see. Right, we'll end it there. I'll be back soon for another review, hopefully of a better film. Okay. Good night.